Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Wednesday edition of my show. For those that watched the waiver wire video at the end when I told you guys I'll be getting this video out around 11 to noon, I definitely lied. I slept in a lot longer than I expected to. I underestimated the lack of sleep that I got Monday night after going to that Bucks game. I definitely made it up for that. Got to a late start to my day. Didn't get out and do my run until a lot later than I planned on. So it is what it is. I'm still getting the video out a lot earlier than I normally do on Wednesday, so why don't I go ahead and dive into it? You guys know what I'm doing. I'm doing the top starts and sits for the quarterback, running back, and wide receiver and tight end positions. Let's go ahead and always do what we do. Start with the quarterback position. My top start of the week for quarterbacks is Cam Newton against the Dolphins. We saw Cam Newton have a really good game last week, even though the Panthers did end up losing that matchup against a football team. And he's got another good matchup to put up some numbers again this week. The Dolphins they're tied for the fifth most allowed points per game to the quarterback position. They're giving up 19.3 points a game. So if you picked up Cam Newton, he had a good game last week. He's setting him up for another good game this week. He's going to have the ball in his hands, plenty of time to get the rushing floor for you and potentially get those touchdowns. It looks like he's already developed some early chemistry with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson last week, and I would not be surprised if they start to open up the offense as he gets more comfortable in the Joe Brady scheme. So if you picked up Cam Newton, I definitely would line him up in your starting lineup this week. My other start, it's Tom Brady against my Colts. I mean, we already know the history of Tom Brady against the Colts. Typically does have some success against them, especially during the regular season. So Tom Brady, obviously, is coming back off his bounce back game last week against the Giants. The Colts are actually tied with the Dolphins for the fifth most allowed points per game to the quarterback position, giving up 19.3. And obviously the Colts defense is playing a lot better than what they did at the beginning of the season. But with that being said, even though the defense is still playing better, they still allow a quarterback and wide receiver to kind of go off against them any given week. I mean, even though they beat up on the Bills last week, look what Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs did last week. They put up a good number. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tom Brady and either multiple wide receivers or one of his guys are connecting often on Sunday. I think Antonio Brown would be back this week too. So I would not be surprised if Brady has a good game on Sunday. I hate to see it, but why would it even be a surprise at this point? He's 44. Now my top sits of the week, I'm definitely going with Ryan Tannehill against the Patriots defense. Obviously, like Ryan Tannehill's fantasy floor has significantly dropped as soon as Derrick Henry came out of lineup. Julio Jones is still on IR. I'm not sure the status of AJ Brown at this moment, if he's going to be able to play or not. And if they don't have AJ Brown, then I don't see any benefit of playing Ryan Tannehill against New England. New England's been very stiff against the quarterback position this year in fantasy. They're allowing the second fewest amount of points per game against quarterbacks. They're only giving up 12.4. So if you were maybe thinking of playing Ryan Tannehill, if you're a Titans fan, you're thinking about playing him, go look for other options because it's probably going to be a rough week for Mr. Tannehill in Foxborough. I think it's in Foxborough. And then my other sit is Tua Tagovailoa against the Panthers. The Panthers have allowed the fifth fewest amount of points per game to the quarterback position, only giving up 15.6. Tua's been kind of hit and miss. He's he looks great on some drives, and then the next drive you're like, what was he thinking on that throw? So he's still kind of working through his things. But with that being said, I think there's a lot better options than Tua this week if you're looking to stream him. And just the numbers say Panthers are one of the better defenses in the league. So obviously, if you have some better options than Tua, I would definitely consider it. So again, my top starts for quarterback: Cam Newton against the Dolphins and Tom Brady against the Colts. And then my sits: Ryan Tannehill against the Patriots and Tua Tagovailoa against the Panthers. Moving on to the running back position. My top starts and sits, starting obviously with the starts. My top running back start of the week is definitely David Montgomery tomorrow on Thanksgiving against the Lions. It's the first game of the week, and obviously David Montgomery, he didn't even come back in like split reps with Khalil Herbert. It's his backfield. He's dominating the touches. So, and with that being said, the Lions are one of the worst defenses in the league. As far as fantasy though, they've allowed the second most points per game running back position. They're giving up 24.7 points a game. So if there was a game for David Montgomery to go off and maybe have a turkey leg in his, because this game's on Fox, I think they still do the turkey leg that they give to the player of the game. I like I said last night, I think the Lions are going to win, but if the Bears win, I could see David Montgomery with a turkey leg in his mouth celebrating the win on Thanksgiving. So if you got David Montgomery, definitely leave him in your lineup. Don't even think twice about it. My other start is going to be Antonio Gibson against the Seahawks. I think we're about to see a really huge game out of Antonio Gibson. He's getting healthier as the season's gone along. I think he's kind of put some steady games, but I think this is one of those blow up matchups. For Antonio Gibson, Seattle has allowed the third most allowed points per game to running backs this year. They've been giving up 23.2 points a game. So if you got Antonio Gibson, you kind of been like waiting for his time to shine. I think that's going to be on Sunday against Seattle. So if you got him, make sure he is definitely in your lineup this week. My sit of the week is Leonard Fournette against the Colts. Colts' run defense is really good right now with how the defensive front is dominating the trenches, at least against the run. And with Darius Leonard and Bobby Okereke in the linebacker position, they are really stout against the run this year. They have allowed the fewest amount of points per game right now to the running back position, only giving up 14.1. They took over that mantle as the top defense against running backs after what Jonathan Taylor did to the Bills defense, who was number one. So yeah, with that being said, I think Leonard Fournette could have a rough outing. I think they might have to lean on the pass because that's what the kind of Colts defense allows, is they allow easier passes. They make it difficult for you to run. They try to put you in third and long situations so they can get off the field. So, if you had Leonard Fournette, you play him. I get it. I think I'm going to have to play him in one of my leagues because of injuries and, bye weeks and whatnot. So, just temper your expectations. He has a rough outing, and if he gets at least a touchdown, you can be happy that he got in the end zone. And then my other sit of the week, just any Bills running back against the Saints. Now Matt Breida is involved. All three backs are it's a three-headed, I wouldn't even call it three-headed monster. It's a three-headed pug, if you want to call it that. The rushing attack doesn't do anything. So, it's not only that, it's I don't even know if you want to really own any of them at this point, unless you super believe Devin Singletary or Zach Moss or even Matt Breida is going to dominate the touches come playoff time for you, and you just want to stash them on your bench. I don't really see this rushing attack improving at all. At this point in the season, your team is what your team is. And then you look at the matchup, the Saints have allowed the second fewest amount of points per game to running backs. They're only giving up 14.2 points a game. So, if you're sitting there I might play Devin Singletary or Zach Moss or even Matt Breida so I have somebody playing on Thanksgiving, yeah, I just wouldn't do that. If you're putting together maybe a DFS Thanksgiving lineup, I would avoid playing those guys. I'm sure they're super cheap on there. But yeah, I would just definitely avoid playing any Bills running back against the Saints. So again, my top starts, David Montgomery against the Lions, Antonio Gibson against the Seahawks. My top sits, Leonard Fournette against the Colts, and then any Bills running back against the Saints. And then moving on to my wide receiver position, top starts and sit. My top start of the week is Brandon Ayuk against the Vikings. Listen, Deebo Samuel now is at this point, he's a plug-and-play guy. You probably shouldn't be debating if you're going to play him or not. He's getting a certain amount of touches every week, and he is in the zone. He's having that year 3 boom for San Francisco. So he's at the point where I probably shouldn't have to tell you to start him. But if you're thinking about Brandon Ayuk against the Vikings, I think this will be a good match to play him. The Vikings have allowed the second most allowed points per game to wide receivers this year. They've given up 27.7 points a game. So if you had Brandon Ayuk, he's been coming along. He's getting more involved with the offense every week. If there was for him to have a second-year boom game, it would be this week against the Vikings defense. And then my other top starts, as I'm going to roll this with the Cam Newton play, is DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson against the Dolphins. Dolphins have allowed the third most allowed points per game to wide receivers this year. They're giving up 27.0 points a game. So yeah, I think they're a good play this week. DJ Moore is obviously, like I said, has an early chemistry with Cam. I think Robbie Anderson will eventually have his breakout game that he's been itching there with the targets, but just hasn't exploded. That could definitely happen this Sunday against the Dolphins. So if you got one of them, you're thinking about playing them, I definitely would consider it for your lineup this week. My sits of the week, Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton against the Chargers. The Chargers have allowed the second fewest amount of points per game to wide receivers this year, only giving up 17.0 points a game. I think it's kind of funny because my top sits are kind of correlating with the tight end position. So I'm just wondering if the middle of the defense is so easy to pass on these teams that's why the wide receivers aren't getting much points, because the quarterback has easier completions to the inside and at their tight end, and that's why it's kind of balancing out this way. But with that being said, Teddy Bridgewater doesn't really look to push the ball down the field, and that offense has had their struggles this year in Denver with passing the ball consistently. So if you had Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton, like, listen, I get it. If you have to play them, there's bye weeks, there's injuries that are going on right now at this point of the season. So I get it, but just temper your expectations if they have a bad outing. And the next couple guys, I think I would actually sit them. You'd have to be super desperate to probably play one of them, but Kenny Golladay and Kadarius Toney against the Eagles. The Giants fired Jason Garrett yesterday, so they're going to have a new offensive coordinator running things. That offense has been a mess. There's no consistency despite all the talent they have in the skill position players. And then you look at the matchup. The Eagles have allowed the third fewest amount of points per game to wide receivers this year. They're only giving up 17.9 points a game. Darius Slay is likely going to lock one of those guys down. I said this last night in my top streamable defense portion, which you haven't watched yet. Please go back and watch it. Like, the Eagles defense is playing a lot better than it has over the last couple weeks. So I definitely think if you were considering playing Golladay or Toney this week, I would look at other options. They are definitely guys I would not put in there and temper my expectations. It's a situation until I see this Giants offense show some consistency at all. I'm not going to really trust their fancy options. Even like Saquon Barkley at this point, like, who can you really trust in the Giants offense? My top starts now. So again, top starts: Brandon Ayuk against the Vikings, and then DJ Moore or Robbie Anderson against the Dolphins, and then my top sits: Jerry Jeudy or Courtland Sutton against the Chargers, and Kenny Golladay or Kadarius Toney against the Eagles. And then moving on to my top starts and sits for the tight end position, like I was kind of just mentioning, the top sits that I just talked about kind of correlate with my top starts in the tight end position because, like I said, I think maybe these defenses are just allowing too many easy completions to tight ends in the middle of the field. But yeah, looking at my top start of the week at the tight end position, we'll see. Evan Ingram, maybe he's the one person you could trust in the Giants offense, just based on the matchup. This is totally streamable. This is a total roll of the dice. I know you can't really trust Evan Ingram or a Giants play, but then when you look at the numbers, the Eagles have allowed the most points per game to tight ends this year. They're giving up 12.5 points a game. So if there was ever a game for Evan Ingram to have because Evan Ingram's always good for 2 to 4 games a year that he goes over 100 yards and gets a touchdown. So if there's going to be that game, it's probably going to be this week against the Eagles. So if you were looking for a streaming option on the waiver wire and you see Evan Ingram, it might be worth the gamble this week. And then my other start of the week is going to be Noah Fant against the Chargers. The Chargers have allowed the second most allowed points per game to the tight end position. They've given up 11.7 points a game. And, I think it's with, they have good cornerbacks. They have some good safeties. They got some guys up front. And then they don't really have many really great coverage linebackers. So the same thing with the Eagles. Both Chargers and Eagles, they have some decent running back. Linebackers are good against the run, but their coverage ability is not that great. So I think that's why we're seeing the balance of points shifted to the tight ends compared to the wide receivers against those teams. At least that's my theory as of right now. So with that being said, numbers say Noah Fant would be a good play this week. So if you got him, you're thinking about streaming him this week, I think he would be a good play for you. And then my sits of the week, Jared Cook against the Broncos. The Broncos have allowed the second fewest amount of points per game to tight ends this year. They're only giving up 4.0 points a game. So that's a factor in there. And then my thing with Jared Cook is he really hasn't been a good streaming option over the last month. When you actually look at the numbers, to Donald Parham Jr., their other young tight end, he's getting more and more involved in the offense. He's actually kind of siphoning away targets from Jared. This past game, I want to say they each had 5 targets in the passing attack. So now there's another tight end in the situation. Jared is not being the third guy in targets like he was at the beginning of the season. So I just don't know if you can trust his situation anymore as a streaming tight end. And then you look at the numbers. It's just a bad matchup against a defense that hasn't allowed that many points to tight ends this year. And then my last sit of the week is going to be Hunter Henry against the Titans. The Titans have allowed the third fewest amount of points per game against tight ends. They're only allowing 4.9 points a game. So the numbers say this is a bad matchup to play Hunter Henry. And then when you look at Hunter Henry, his biggest issue is he is a touchdown dependent tight end. He gets only 3 to 5 targets a game. And if one of those targets are in the end zone, he might only get you anywhere between 20 to 40 points. Because I think I was talking with my good buddy Eric last week about him. The biggest problem with him being a touchdown dependent tight end is he's only gotten over 50 yards once this season. So unless he gets that touchdown for you, he's probably going to have a rough outing. So unless the numbers say he's a good play, you definitely want to avoid anytime Hunter Henry's playing one of those defenses that have been good against tight ends in fantasy football. So again, my top starts for tight ends this week is Evan Ingram against the Eagles, and then Noah Fant against the Chargers, and then my top sits is Jared Cook against the Broncos, and then Hunter Henry against the Titans. So yeah, that's my video, guys. I appreciate anybody that's tuned into this video today. I know everybody, this is a busy travel day for people going for Thanksgiving. I know this is a typically busy time of the year, so anybody that would take their time out of their day to watch a video of mine, I definitely appreciate it. If you did enjoy today's video, hit the like button. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'm always trying to get that number up. And then I will be back, I think, on Saturday. I am, like I said, I'm off for the next until Monday. So on Fridays I normally don't record my weekly preview video because it's the end of a long work week. I'm tired by the time I get home, and I don't want you guys to have suffer for a bad video. I like quality over quantity. But with that being said, I kind of got all day, so maybe once all the final injury reports are in on Friday, if I'm feeling up for it, like I can deliver a high quality video for you guys. Maybe I do my weekly preview like Friday evening at some point. It just depends on when all the final injury reports get in or not. If not, I'll be back at the normal time that my typical weekly preview comes out on Saturdays, typically right around noon. So look forward to that. Other than that, if you guys have any fantasy football questions, please hit me up, text, DM, give me a call, at me at Twitter, Cody Talks NFL. Put a comment in my video. I'll return any questions in my comment section. And then I hope you guys enjoy have a happy Thanksgiving. Be safe, have fun. Just don't do anything too stupid tonight if you're going out and with some old high school friends if you're going back home. So I'll talk to you guys later. Enjoy all the food tomorrow and, of course, all the football. And I hope everybody wins some money tomorrow like I want to. Peace out, guys.